Some people don't leave your life. They just move into your head. Years pass. Cities change. Jobs change. But their voice still echoes. The laugh, the insults, the feeling of being small. Maybe this feels familiar. Maybe you still remember a name from school. Someone who turned ordinary days into quiet nightmares. For Daniel Mercer, that name was Ryan Keller. Ryan didn't just bully him once or twice. He rewrote the way Daniel saw himself. And even 22 years later, Daniel still lowered his voice when speaking to strangers. Still avoided eye contact. Still apologized when he had done nothing wrong. But one quiet Tuesday afternoon, inside a small neighborhood library, Daniel walked around a corner. And suddenly, he was face to face with the man who ruined his childhood. But what happened next? Nobody expected. Daniel Mercer worked as a city librarian. It was the kind of job most people barely noticed. He checked in returned books, stamped due dates, helped children find the right shelves. The library smelled like dust, paper, and old carpet cleaner. For Daniel, it was perfect, quiet, predictable, safe. He arrived every morning at 7:15 a.m., long before the doors opened. He liked the silence before the city woke up. Fluorescent lights humming softly, morning sun leaking through tall windows. Sometimes he would walk between the empty shelves and run his hand across the spines of books. History, poetry, science, lives that felt bigger than his own. But Daniel had a habit that confused people. Whenever someone raised their voice even slightly, he flinched. Whenever someone laughed too loudly behind him, his shoulders stiffened. His coworker Maria noticed it one afternoon. "Daniel, can I ask you something?" she said. "Sure. Why do you always apologize when patrons are rude to you?" Daniel forced a small smile. "I guess I just don't like conflict." That wasn't the whole truth. The truth started back in 7th grade. Back when lockers slammed like thunder. Back when hallways smelled like sweat and cafeteria pizza. And back when a tall boy named Ryan Keller decided Daniel was the easiest target in the building. Ryan stole his backpack once. Another time he shoved Daniel into a locker so hard the metal door bent. But the worst part wasn't the shoving. It was the laughter. Ryan had a way of making the whole hallway laugh. After a while, Daniel started believing the things Ryan said. "You're weak. You're invisible. No one respects you." Years later, Daniel still carried those words like stones in his pockets. And the strange thing about childhood trauma is this: it doesn't end when school ends. Sometimes it just gets quieter. One Tuesday afternoon, the library was unusually busy. Rain tapped against the tall windows. Parents rushed inside with children. Wet coats dripped onto the carpet. Daniel was scanning returned books behind the front desk when the door opened again. A tall man walked in. Broad shoulders, leather jacket, confident stride. Daniel barely looked up at first. "Afternoon," the man said. Then Daniel heard the voice. Deep, familiar. His chest tightened instantly. He slowly raised his eyes. Ryan Keller. Older now, hair shorter, face lined by years, but unmistakable. Ryan didn't seem to recognize him. He approached the desk casually. "Hey," Ryan said. "You got any books on starting a small business?" Daniel's hands froze on the scanner. For a second, the room shrank. The sound of rain grew louder. And suddenly Daniel wasn't 34 anymore. He was 13, standing in a hallway, backpack on the floor, everyone laughing. Ryan leaned on the counter. "You all right, man?" Daniel swallowed. "Why, yeah. Section 650, Business Management." Ryan nodded. "Appreciate it." Then he walked past Daniel toward the shelves. Just like that. No recognition. No apology. No memory. For Ryan, it was just another day. But Daniel stood there trembling. Because for the first time in 22 years, his past had walked back into the room. Ryan started visiting the library regularly. Every few days, always around lunchtime, Daniel tried to avoid him. He reorganized shelves in the back, took longer breaks, let Maria handle the front desk. But Ryan kept showing up, reading business books, taking notes, sometimes asking questions. One afternoon, Ryan approached again. "Hey, librarian guy," he said casually. "Got anything about repairing credit?" Daniel nodded stiffly. "Third aisle." Ryan chuckled. "Man, I swear this adult life thing didn't come with instructions." Daniel finally spoke more than 2 words. "What kind of business are you starting?" Ryan leaned against the counter. "Food truck." "Really?" "Yeah, been working construction forever. Figured it's time to build something for myself." He smiled. Not the cruel smile Daniel remembered. Just a normal one. That confused Daniel. For weeks Daniel watched him from across the room. Ryan wasn't the loudest person anymore. He often sat alone, reading quietly. One evening the library nearly emptied. Outside, the rain had stopped. Golden sunset light filled the reading area. Ryan was still sitting there, rubbing his forehead, looking exhausted. Daniel walked over with a returned book. "You closing soon?" Ryan asked. 10 minutes. Ryan nodded slowly. Then he said something unexpected. "You ever feel like you're starting life too late?" Daniel paused. "What do you mean?" Ryan exhaled. "Everyone else figured their lives out in their 20s. I spent mine screwing around." Daniel studied his face. For the first time, Ryan looked uncertain. Human. Not the untouchable giant from middle school. Just a tired man in his 30s trying to fix his life. And that realization cracked something open inside Daniel. Because sometimes, the monsters from your past grow older too. 2 weeks later, Daniel finally decided to say something. The library was quiet that afternoon. Only a few readers scattered across tables. Ryan stood at the checkout desk with 3 books. Daniel scanned them slowly. His heart pounded. This was the moment. "Ryan," Daniel said. Ryan looked up. "Yeah." Daniel's voice shook slightly. "You went to Lincoln Middle School, right?" Ryan blinked. "Yeah. A long time ago. You remember Daniel Mercer?" Ryan frowned, searching his memory. Then his expression changed. "Oh, wait." A pause. "Oh, wow, yeah. Danny, right? Danny." The name hit like a punch. Ryan scratched the back of his neck. "Man, that was forever ago." Daniel waited. Silence stretched between them. Finally, Ryan said the words Daniel had secretly hoped for. "Sorry if I was kind of a jerk back then." Kind of a jerk. Daniel felt the air leave his lungs. 20 years of humiliation, reduced to a casual sentence. Ryan picked up his books. "Kids are dumb, you know?" Then he walked toward the door. And Daniel stood there realizing something painful. Ryan had moved on long ago. But Daniel had spent half his life still living in those hallways. That night Daniel couldn't sleep. Rain returned, tapping against his apartment window. He sat at the kitchen table staring at an old photo album. One picture showed him at 13. Thin, nervous smile, trying to look confident. He remembered how he used to walk home after school, head down, counting the cracks in the sidewalk, just trying to make it through the day. And suddenly Daniel understood something uncomfortable. Ryan wasn't controlling his life anymore. Daniel was. Every apology, every avoided conversation, every moment of silence. It had all been his choice, not Ryan's. The next morning Daniel arrived at the library before sunrise. 7:15 a.m. The building was still dark. He turned on the lights and walked slowly between the shelves. Dust floated in golden morning light. A quiet, reflective moment. For the first time in years, Daniel spoke out loud to the empty room. "I'm not 13 anymore." The words sounded strange, but also freeing. Later that day, Ryan came in again. Same leather jacket, same tired eyes. He approached the desk. Daniel looked at him differently this time. Not with fear, but with clarity. "Ryan," Daniel said calmly. "Yeah, you didn't just act like a jerk in school." Ryan froze. Daniel continued. "You made a lot of kids miserable, including me." Silence filled the room. Ryan looked genuinely uncomfortable. "I didn't realize it was that bad." "It was." Ryan stared at the floor, then quietly said, "I'm sorry." This time, it sounded different. The apology didn't erase the past, but something inside Daniel shifted. Not because Ryan changed, because Daniel did. Over the next months, he started speaking more confidently. He stopped apologizing unnecessarily. When a rude patron yelled one afternoon, Daniel calmly replied, "Sir, I'm here to help you, but I won't be spoken to like that." Maria nearly dropped her clipboard. "You've changed," she said later. Daniel smiled. "Maybe I just stopped listening to an old voice." A year later, the library hosted a small community event. Ryan parked his food truck outside. The line stretched down the sidewalk. Daniel stood near the entrance watching families laugh and talk. Ryan walked over holding 2 tacos. "One for you," he said. Daniel accepted it. They weren't friends, but they weren't ghosts from each other's past anymore either. Just 2 adults, finally standing on equal ground. Childhood bullying leaves deeper scars than most people realize. Studies show that over 60% of adults who were bullied as children still report lower confidence decades later. Not because the bully stayed, but because the voice stayed. Here's the truth Daniel learned too late. The person who hurt you might forget, but you don't have to keep remembering it the same way. Sometimes healing doesn't come from revenge. It comes from reclaiming your voice. One conversation, one boundary, one moment of honesty. Tonight, try something simple. Write down one sentence someone once said that limited you. Then ask yourself, is that sentence still true? Or have I just been repeating it? And I'm curious, what is one thing someone told you years ago that you're finally ready to stop believing?